tanks. Huge machines of mass destruction that are periodically deployed out in the battlefield, both in real bona fide war and in arguably even more video games. I mean, there's a whole game called World of Tanks, and no, we are not sponsored by them.
But we could be.
But yes, we could. But for now, we're going to be talking about a game called BattleTanx for the Nintendo 64. I can't help but remember the commercials they had when they poked fun at the old Snuggle commercials. You know, the fabric softener with the teddy bear mascot. Priceless.
Whee! For the brightest colors always. What the? Uh-oh!
Introducing BattleTanx for Nintendo 64. Explosive tank action for up to 4 players.
So, are we in for a hardcore, shoot-'em-up, explodey type of game?
Oh, you bet your virtual ass we are. But first we gotta go through the story.
Hell yeah! That's what I'm talking about. Wait, story?
Oh yeah, apparently there's a whole story tied to this game. It's not just about blasting your enemy to Kingdom Come, you know. You see, this story takes place in the far-off future of 2001!
Ooh, Sansa belt. You don't see that much anymore. Are you guys from Florida?
No, we're from the future.
Yeah, the 21st century.
The magnificent far-off year of 2002.
Really?
While the game does lay out the plot, albeit fragmented for dramatic purposes at the start of the game, the instruction manual lays it out a bit more plainly. I'm actually sort of excited because I've never took the time to read the full story in the manual, so this will be new for me too. Now grab some popcorn and a drink because apparently this is a 2-pager filled with a lot of lore.
You are Griffin, Spade, warrior, and battle leader in a post-apocalyptic future. Your destiny is to fight your way across the radioactive wastelands that were once known as America in order to find the woman you love. You can still remember how it all started. The precursor of the apocalypse was a lethal virus that appeared from nowhere. Known as the X2 virus, it was selective, choosing only females to act as its host. You can still remember how it all started. The precursor of the apocalypse was a lethal virus that appeared from nowhere. Known as the X2 virus, it was selective, choosing only females to act as its host. The week the news about the virus broke, you had other things on your mind. Madison, the love of your life, had just agreed to marry you, and wedding plans were all you wanted to think about. Your plans were doomed to be delayed by a small matter, the collapse of civilization.
No, yeah, I can see how that can put a wrench into the plans, sure.
In the early stages of the outbreak, the virus was presumed to be an influenza-type organism, so there was no reason to set up quarantine zones. Because the micro-break was not contained within the first crucial days, the X2 virus was able to develop into an unstoppable tidal wave of destruction.
Boss?
Yeah, Chip?
Is it just me? Or is this story sounding awfully familiar?
I'm trying to ignore any possible parallels here, Chip. Otherwise, I might hide under my desk for the next couple of weeks. Moving on.
The world's population of women was reduced to a tiny fraction of its former numbers. The second phase of the apocalypse was anarchy, caused by panic among the men who dominated governments worldwide. Focusing their attentions on the surviving women, governments rounded up all survivors, by force if necessary, and relocated them to secure quarantine facilities in secret locations. The policy was implemented virtually worldwide. Discontentment and rioting soon followed as groups of men banded together to form pseudo-militias. The barrier between civilization and anarchy toppled, and the world became a factionalized collection of small nation-states virtually overnight.
So basically, everything went down the toilet. Huh. No more government and all that jazz.
I guess so. I mean, if the game is anything to go off of, everyone and their grandma has a tank. I suppose once society was spiraling, you could just go to some dealer in the alleyway and get one, I guess.
In your hometown, New York City, many militias were formed in those dark days, and you became a member in order to protect your fiancée, Madison. She was one of the lucky women whose body chemistry was resistant to the X2 virus. In the end, Madison made the decision to voluntarily give herself up to the government relocation forces in order to save you. The third and final phase of the apocalypse was global war. The remnants of the world's governments opted for what was in their short-term best interest. With this twisted logic, the country that would secure the most women would be in the best position for maintaining its population. Countries with large military forces immediately attacked neighbors in hopes of capturing and containing their surviving females. Although there are no known records about who fired the first nuclear shot, in the end, it didn't matter. New York took many direct hits during the war, but luckily, you had scavenged an abandoned National Guard tank and gotten it operational just a few days before the attack. You survived the next few months because almost all modern tanks have come equipped with NBC.
Oh boy, we get TV in the tanks?
Wait, what? No, not that NBC. According to the manual, it stands for Nuclear Biological Chemical Systems.
Oh, well that sounds significantly less fun.
Ahem.
99% of the population of New York was not so lucky. The world as you knew it is gone, devoured in the purifying fire of nuclear cataclysm. The massive amount of fallout caused catastrophic famine and ecological damage across the entire planet. Over half of the sprawling cities that once consumed the land with their brilliance and innovation are now only rubble. However, the X2 virus is no longer a threat. The few women who have survived its decimation are all immune and infinitely precious to the few surviving men who still populate a desolate Earth. For you, there is nothing left in New York. Madison must have survived the madness, since the survival of the virus-resistant women was the US government's absolute top priority. Somewhere out west, she's waiting for you. But many challenges lie in your path. The survivors of the devastation now claim ownership of vast regions. These militarized gangs are known as tribes, and they show no mercy to strangers. In these societies, women are now treated as holy entities, referred to as Queen Lords. They are both tribal rulers and objects of jealous adoration. Tribes guard their queen lords at any cost. Almost certainly, medicine can be found somewhere under the protection of such a tribe.
Holy crap, boss. All that for a game about tanks blasting each other to Kingdom Come? We're gonna need a World of Tanks sponsorship or something.
I am as baffled as you are, Chip. It's certainly, creative. The rest of the manual has all of the expected information. What the options on the menu do, what settings you get to adjust and toggle. Oh, wait. What do you mean easy mode is the default mode? Does that mean normal is harder? Well, one way to find out. We also get an input code screen, whereas we can input codes to help us continue progress if we don't have a controller pack. Ah, yes. The days when you owned a Nintendo 64 and you had to choose between using a rumble pack and a controller pack. I always wondered about that. Apparently in a few N64 games, you can't just save off the cartridge. You needed one of them packs in order to save your progress. The rumble pack, by the way, for those of you who don't know, just, rumbles. It's what most controllers have now as a basic feature. Also, I feel as though it's important to note that you'll see my tank behaving in different ways. Specifically in some footage where the main gun doesn't move and in others it does. Well, apparently I found out after starting to play through the game that the ability to do so entirely relies on the controller scheme that you choose. Easy prevents the main gun from moving, while arcade lets you rotate it while you rotate the camera. Much more like actual tank movements. There are a couple more options, but I didn't bother with those. We also get a rundown on the controllable tanks in the game. Moto-tank. Necessity, as they say, is the mother of invention. How else to explain this hybrid vehicle? Born of a motorcycle fork and customized treadwork from a military half-track, the Moto-tank trades armor for speed. Watch out for them near your fortress, as they are the abduction vehicle of choice among the inner-city gangs. M1A1 Abrams. The cavalry workhorse of the U.S. Army during the war. The M1A1 Abrams is a fearsome machine. With a 1,500 horsepower turbine engine and a special depleted uranium armor, the M1A1 can achieve 42 miles per hour. An impressive speed for a vehicle weighing over 135,000 pounds. Although it is difficult for smaller tribes to keep these beasts running and armored, larger tribes, however, have little to lose by fielding them. And last but not least, the Goliath. The marriage of firepower and rails is ancient history in terms of technology, but the Goliath is a strange crossbreed. Actually, a tank mounted on a small rail platform, it could leave its railway bed at any time, except in bonus rounds. Designed for fortress protection, its firepower is incredible. Its 210mm gun can knock the fight right out of an M1A1.
The game only had 3 vehicles to choose from. Seems pretty limited.
Pretty much, but it's a honkin' huge game once we get into it, so I'm willing to forget its limited selection. And then, of course, we got a list of gangs that we're gonna be running into. We got the Urban Decay, made up of street punks and predatory vermin who have mutated into maniacal cannibals. A devastated New York is their territorial home. The Urban Decay gang starts with the Swarmer missile power-up. In multiplayer modes, they are outfitted with 4 M1A1s and 1 Goliath. Psycho Brigade, a nightmare army of convicts and insane asylum inmates that together resemble a pack of rabid pit-trained Rottweilers that have learned to drive tanks. The Psycho Brigade gang starts with the Shield power-up, which makes you temporarily invulnerable to attacks. In multiplayer modes, they are outfitted with 2 M1A1s, 2 Moto-tanks, and 1 Goliath. The Skull Riders. Destruction is a way of life for this roaming motorized wolf pack made up of outlaw gangs and bikers who rule the interstates of post-apocalypse. The Skull Riders gang starts with the guided missile power-up. In multiplayer modes, they are outfitted with 4 Moto-tanks and 1 Goliath. Mech Maniacs, combining conspiratorial paranoia, right-wing militia politics, and a whole mess of weapons, the Maniacs are a mechanized army made up of survivalists and extremists. The Mech Maniacs start with the Gun Buddy power-up, which lets you drop a gun turret anywhere, In multiplayer modes, they are outfitted with 2 moto tanks, 2 M1A1s, and 1 Goliath.
And that's it, right?
No. There's still quite a few to cover.
What the? Seriously?
I mean, hey, I wasn't kidding when I said that the game was beefy. Charlie Company. When the U.S. Army fragmented, the surviving remnants formed Charlie Company. Highly mechanized, highly disciplined, and highly likely to kill anything that moves. Charlie Company starts with the laser power-up, a strong attack that deals some good amount of damage. In multiplayer modes, they are outfitted with 2 moto tanks, 1 M1A1, and 2 Goliaths. The Nuclear Knights. A secret government experiment that went wrong. After the apocalypse, these super soldiers escaped from their lockdown cells and armed themselves with the latest weapon technology. The Nuclear Knights gang starts with the nuke power-up, which is literally a nuke that you drop and lays waste to the entire map, enemies and allies included. In multiplayer modes, they are outfitted with 5 Goliaths. Yeah, no tanks, just Goliaths. The Aftershocks. After earthquakes, firestorms, and the ravages of nuclear war decimated Southern California, this gang headed up north to continue the carnage, made up of freaks, punks, and post-apocalyptic mutants. The Aftershocks gang starts with 2 power-ups, grenades and mines. In multiplayer modes, they are outfitted with 3 moto tanks, 1 M1A1, and 1 Goliath. The Dark Angels. The Dark Angels consider themselves servants of their god. Their mission is to reshape the world in his name. Who's him? I don't know. Him from the Powerpuff Girls? As far as I know, probably. The Dark Angels gang starts with the cloaking power-up, one that makes you invisible, and in multiplayer modes, they are outfitted with 2 moto tanks, 2 M1A1s, and 1 Goliath. And last but not least, Griffin's Army. Griffin Spade built a mighty army to conquer the gangs of the post-apocalypse so that one day he could be reunited with his lost love, Madison. In the campaign, Griffin's army starts with no power-ups. In multiplayer, they start off with a randomly assigned power-up. In multiplayer modes, they are outfitted with 4 M1A1s and 1 Goliath. Phew.
Huzzah, boss! You made it! I had no idea they stuffed so many tank gangs into this thing.
That's what I love about the Nintendo 64. Sure, it wasn't as powerful as the PlayStation 1 or the Sega Dreamcast at the time, but boy howdy did they know how to pack those cartridges full of content for some of their games. Alrighty, power-up time. Some of these aren't really self-explanatory, so I feel like covering them is going to be a little useful. Let's see, we got the Star Power-Up. This power-up, left behind when a tank is destroyed, gives a variable amount of ammo and armor. It is only available briefly, then it is removed from the battlefield, so basically get it as fast as you can. The Health Power-Up restores about 1/3 armor strength to your vehicle. The Ammo Power-Up adds 30 shells to your primary weapon, the cannon if you're in the M1A1, or the Goliath tank. This power-up adds 70 shells to the Moto Tank's armory. The shield, as mentioned before, causes weapon fire to reflect off your tank without inflicting damage. An active tank can take a limited amount of damage, and several hits will destroy a shield. Bonus points adds 1,000 points to your score. Radar activates a radar sensor on your HUD, showing all enemy tanks on your map. In addition, enemy tanks will have color-coded triangles above each of them. Radar lasts until your tank is destroyed. Extra Tank adds an extra tank to your team reserve, or it basically gives you an extra life. Swarmer Missiles. When used, this power-up fires a group of 3 missiles. These missiles inflict a moderate amount of damage. Grenades. When used, a single grenade is launched forward from your tank. Grenades have a delayed fuse and will bounce off of objects in front of you. They are exceptional for clearing minefields. Guided Missiles. When fired, your camera view shifts to directly behind the missile. By holding the A button and using the control stick, you can guide the missile to a target. Mines. When used, this power-up drops a small but powerful landmine. Any tank running over this mine will take a considerable amount of damage. Mines do not differentiate between friend or foe, except for scoring purposes. Laser. When used, the laser power-up fires a high-energy pulse that does great amounts of damage. Cloaking. This makes your tank invisible to all enemies, including radar, until it wears off. A tank will also be briefly visible when a weapon is fired, and while transporting a Queen Lord. Nuke. A tactical nuclear warhead that does huge amounts of damage to everything on the map, including the individual who launched the weapon. Proximity to the bomb when it goes off results in more damage. It's on a time delay fuse. Gun Buddy. When activated, this power-up will drop an automatic gun turret behind you. The Gun Buddy will attack any mobile enemy unit and will continue to attack until it's destroyed. The manual then goes on to explain how multiplayer works, but we're not here for that. We're here for the campaign.
Alright, so, we got the rundown of the story, we've been introduced to the characters, and the various players in this post-apocalyptic story. Are we ready to fire up the game now?
Ready and willing, let's do this! So we start off with The Fall. We're given some specifics that weren't covered in the prologue. It's basically done as if we were witnessing the events firsthand.
January 3rd, 2001. The Center of Disease Control in Atlanta classifies a newly discovered virus as a level 4 hot agent, for which there are no vaccines or cures. This virus is selective, choosing only the females of the species to act as its host. Estimated to have a 99.9 fatality rate. It signals the beginning. It signals the beginning of the end for the human race. Medicine. Will you?
Yes!
Bulletin, UPI forces. Government declares martial law. Washington, D.C. March 23rd, 2001. UPI. With female death rates increasing astronomically, the United States government declares martial law. Army and National Guard troops advance on all major cities with orders to evacuate all females to secured quarantine zones in Northern California. To help combat mounting civil unrest, government forces are authorized to use deadly force against males opposing this action. Countries from around the world take similar precautions in the hopes of preventing the spread of the X2 virus and transmission. I'll never let them take you away from me.
They'll kill you, Griffin.
Without you, I'm dead anyway. Bulletin, UPI focus. Civil war erupts in America, Washington, D.C., April 19th, 2001. UPI. Renegade units split ranks in mutiny, joining civilian forces and fracturing the chain of military command. Civil war erupts across America as males organize militias to oppose government forces in an effort to protect their families. China invades Russia to secure the...
Oh, well, okay then. I guess that gets cut off because it's meant to signify that things have gone way down the pooper. Griffin, my love, by the time you read this, I will have given myself up to the government forces. The choice I have made is for the best. For if I had stayed, you would have died trying to protect me. The thought of losing you was too painful. I could not let that happen. Oh, jeez! They just bombed New York! We're then given the aftermath. Oh, here we go. We're given some statistics here. Out of 260 million people in the U.S., post-plague took about 1 million men and about 129 million women. During the Civil War, there was a loss of 24 million men and 50,000 women. During the nuclear war, there was a loss of 55 million men and 900,000 women. By the present time in the game, there are approximately 50 million men and 50,000 women. Oh man. Was Nintendo trying to be edgy sometimes to stay in the market? I blame Sega.
Civilization came to an end on May 6th, 2001. The virus, having burned itself out, is no longer a threat. The remaining survivors of the devastation now face extinction because for every 1,000 males, there is only one female. Over time, the males begin to regroup and form tribal gangs, who, without the influence of female guidance, have reverted back to their most primitive instinct. Against overwhelming odds and unparalleled danger, Griffin Spade now begins his journey across the wastelands of America to find and rescue Madison. When there is nothing left to live for, what would you die for? I'm coming, Madison.
Oh, ho, ho, ho! Mr. Spade being all badass. We finally start the game, and it starts us off in Griffin Spade's hometown. What's left of New York.
The weapons of choice for all gangs are in the BattleTanx. Tanks are rebuilt and maintained using whatever scraps and spare parts can be salvaged from the aftermath of the apocalypse. The once great city known as New York is now a nightmare of scorched concrete canyons, ruled by a mutant gang known as the Urban Decay.
Level 1, Ground Zero, and our objective is to destroy 5 tanks. Pretty straightforward. You got a few tanks to contest with, a few of those gun turrets as well as bigger gun turrets who shoot lasers that hurt quite a lot. Basically, your main objective is to shoot everything until they explode. Eliminate all enemies on the map in order to move on to the next stage.
Having survived the Urban Decay's forces in Queens, Griffin now heads towards what remains of Manhattan. Griffin will need to cross through the Queens Midtown Tunnel, which is named No Man's Land, because no man has ever crossed it and survived.
Oh wow, well, how welcoming. Level 2, the tunnel. Our first gauntlet of sorts. It's a straight shot down this tunnel, and the objective here is to make it all the way down to the end. At this point, this is where strategy comes into play. You've got to take things slowly. Rushing all the way down, especially if you have no idea where the enemies are, is gonna get you chewed up by cannon fire from other tanks and by bullets from turrets. The key here is to go slow and steady. There's no countdown timer, so you can take your time. And even though the game does reward you for clearing a level in a timely manner, the par times that are expected tend to be reasonable for the most part. And oh boy, do they get longer the farther into the game that you get. Another thing to remember when you first play this game is that you want to be careful about stocking up on power-ups. For instance, the radar is only effective once, so only grab it once in case you get blown up and have to try again, because if you do, the effects go away. If you have extra lives, you'll start at the beginning with no weapons. Once you get to the end, you beat the level.
Times Square, the soul of the Big Apple, was a place where thousands used to come to ring in the new year with tidings of good cheer and joy. When the ball dropped in 2001, it opened the doors of Armageddon, ringing in a nightmare of mass destruction. Now Times Square is the territorial home of the Urban Decay.
Level 3, Times Square. Unlike Ground Zero, there's more ground to cover here with way more enemies to contest with. Turrets are hidden in various nooks and crannies, so be mindful if you decide to go hunting for the enemy.
The George Washington Bridge is the only way out of New York City, and is also the Urban Decay's stronghold. The bridge is guarded with mines, gun emplacements, and a huge Goliath tanks. To escape from New York, Griffin must first run this gauntlet, which is known as Stranglehold Bridge.
Level 4, Stranglehold Bridge, with the sole objective of crossing the thing. Easier said than done, because just like in the tunnel, this is a straight shot down. However, this is not as heavily as armed as level 2. It's got way more firepower against you this time. Even more turrets, and now tanks can respawn via bunkers that you can destroy. Though it's important to note that only the bunkers with red emergency lights are destroyable. Ones with no lights on top are impregnable. There's also a lot of mines in this level, tons of mines. The game starts to throw a lot of them at you at this point. After which we get to play a bonus level which lets us control a Goliath tank that can strafe only left and right. Basically, the objective here is to take out as many tanks as you can before they kill you. The enemies come in waves and quite literally doesn't stop until you're dead. We then tackle the next chapter in the storyline, the Queen Lord.
After the apocalypse, hundreds of tribes are in control of armored tanks. Some enter cities simply claim territories. Others roam the wastelands like wolves in packs, searching for anything to scavenge or claim. These renegade gangs range from remnants of National Guard and Army troops to biker gangs who have turned in their wheels for treads, to cannibal mutant gangs searching the vast wastelands for their daily sustenance. Some tribes try to rebuild, while others only destroy. Renegade gangs now rule over the land that was once known as America. In the end, women are the only thing standing between extinction and survival of the species. Women are treated as holy entities, referred to as Queen Lords, may become the powerful leaders of the tribes. Tribes fortunate enough to have a queen guard her in a mighty fortress, which is defended by a massive Goliath tanks. With his escape from New York now complete, Griffin heads west across the country's heartland. Griffin has gained a small army of followers. These are ordinary men who share the same dream to someday be reunited with their lost loved ones. The roads through the heartlands are ruled by a nightmare army of convicts and insane asylum inmates known as the Psycho Brigade. Griffin's army must break through the Psycho Brigade's defenses, find their fortress, and destroy it. Griffin can then rescue their queen.
Next up is level 5, the Heartland. Man, that's some world building given the size of the dang game.
Hey boss, you sure we're playing an N64 game and not some Tom Clancy novel?
You know what, Chip? I really don't know anymore.
This shit is like something he would write though.
Big old map littered with mines and bunkers that continuously spawn tanks, with the objective being to capture a Queen Lord from the enemy's fortress. Yeah, this one took me a couple of times, cause boy howdy was it a lot of stuff to contend with. I mean, no yeah, now I can see why the default difficulty was easy. Now, I could do the sensible thing and adjust the difficulty. However, I'm in a unique position where I can input codes. And not only codes that you can input to get to levels quickly if you don't have a memory pack. No, I can also unlock all sorts of things like invincibility, infinite ammo, and infinite lives. However, while this is the path I'll be walking moving forward, I ain't gonna cheese it completely. So I'm doing the code for starting out with all of the weapons. It gives me a plethora of them to start with, but at the same time, I'm still quite vulnerable.
Ooh, the boss is a cheater, pumpkin eater.
Hey, quit judging me and read the next level's prompt, huh?
Sure. Ahem.
Griffin's army, now in possession of a Queen Lord, has entered the city of Chicago, stronghold of the Psycho Brigade. Griffin's forces must defend their Queen Lord, while trying to rescue another Queen Lord from the Psycho Brigade. After all, the more Queen Lords a tribe has, the better its chances of survival.
Now it's time for level 6, Lakeshore Drive. Just like the last one, our objective is to capture the Queen Lord, but now our army grows as reflected in the narration. And the path to the enemy fortress is intertwined with zigzaggy paths and ton of huge laser turrets. Even with all the weapons at my disposal, I still get my arse kicked.
Having secured the northern sector of Chicago, Griffin's army heads for the southern sector, which is occupied by the remaining Psycho Brigade forces and by the Skull Riders biker gang. The two gangs have temporarily allied, so they can stop Griffin's ever-growing army dead in its tracks.
Arriving at level 7, State Street. Now we gotta rescue 2 Queen Lords. Same rules apply as the last with a different layout. Now we gotta fight through cities with the frame rate hanging on for dear life. Gotta rescue those 2 Queen Lords and escort them back to your base in order to win. After beating another bonus stage, we're introduced to another chapter to the story, a chapter called Conquest.
Having conquered the Heartland, Griffin leaves a portion of his forces behind to start the rebuilding of America. Through the constant battles and forward advances into occupied territories in the West, and his army growing stronger every day, Griffin's name spreads like wildfire, striking fear into the hearts of all renegade gangs. Griffin's army is able to rest for only a few hours a day. When Griffin sleeps, he dreams of Madison and better times. He dreams that the West has been spared the nuclear devastation of the East. Griffin's dream is a sign, a whisper calling him west toward the quarantine zones and Madison, and a glimmer of hope for a new world. Griffin's dream is always the same, and he always wakes up before it ends, with a vision of a nightmare hooded in black, prevented him from saving Madison. The roads through the West are dominated by 3 allied renegade gangs. The Mech Maniacs are a mechanized army made up of survivalists and extremists. The Nuclear Knights are a secret government experiment that went wrong. These super soldiers arm themselves with the latest in secret weapon technology. Driven by his visions, Griffin pushes his mechanized army forward, deeper into the dangers that occupy the West. Griffin's army must break through the defenses of the Mech Maniacs, Charlie Company, and the Nuclear Knights, who guard a stretch of road known as Armageddon Highway.
Level 8, Armageddon Highway. Oh, that's okay. I didn't want any frames anyway. There is so much going on here. Before you have the chance to move your tank forward, you and your allied tanks are under attack. I mean, I guess it makes sense because you're invading the territory for 3 gangs. The turret placement is dastardly at this point, with turrets hiding behind non-destructible walls, with tons of laser turrets as well. I hate those laser turrets. One thing that I discovered that helps out a lot is taking advantage of the fog of war. If you can't see the enemy in the distance, odds are they can't see you. Remember that guided missiles are your friends.
Having made it across Armageddon Highway, Griffin's mighty army finds the top secret military base known as Area 51. The base is rich in high-tech weapons technology and holds several Queen Lords. It is guarded by the Mech Maniacs, Charlie Company, and the Nuclear Knights.
Whoa. Area 51? Again?
Wait, again? Should we stand no chance, especially without the Naruto runners?
Yes, again. Also, wait, what? You talking about the one time that there was a massive concern that there was going to be actual living human beings to try to storm Area 51 doing that running thing? There was no way that was going to work.
Just throw your hands back, and duck while sprinting. Works every time.
But, listen here, you. This isn't an episode of Naruto Shipping Crate. Now let's just continue with this review before we give anyone else any more bad ideas. Level 9, Area 51. Now it's time to start focus on being defensive as well as offensive. At this point, you've been thrown into levels to rescue Queen Lords from the enemy, sure. But this time is the first time in my playthrough that I've noticed that the enemy tanks start to push to get into your fortress to get your Queen Lords. Set up turrets if you can find them, but otherwise work smart and fast before your army gets decimated. Thankfully, you get an indestructible bunker, so periodically new allied tanks spawn in. But it's definitely on a timer. Oh, Snapple! A UFO! Quick, shoot it! That's right, that damn there be the American way to do things, I tell you what.
Having secured Area 51, Griffin's army now moves south towards the city of Las Vegas, which is the headquarters of the Alliance. The 3 gang fortresses are located on a street named Fremont. Griffin must again somehow manage to rescue 3 Queen Lords and crush the 3 enemy gangs for good. Also, Chip is a stinky, poopy butthole who's a...
Hey!
Yeah, you really shouldn't have given me the ability to write your lines.
I'm a pain in the butt despite how attractive I am.
I gotta sneak some truth in there.
Wait, which one was the truth?
Yes! Anyways, level 10, Fremont Street. Rescue 3 Queen Lords here as you drive around the streets of Viva Las Vegas. Thankfully, lots of gun turrets are available so you can start plopping a lot of them down around your fortress. I think my only complaint here is that the fog of war coupled with it being nighttime makes it pretty hard to see long distances. We jump into a bonus round taking place in Area 51. Then it's time for another chapter in our BattleTanx saga. A chapter entitled Kingdom Come.
Griffin's destiny is before him. The city of San Francisco is within sight. Having survived the nuclear onslaught unscathed, quarantine zones were not targeted for destruction. The city of San Francisco can sustain a growing community. The city by the bay is a prize sought by many gangs, but is currently occupied by the Dark Angels. The Dark Angels have formed an unholy dark alliance with the Aftershocks gang and the Skull Riders gang. Griffin knows the Dark Angels well. They are the evil that has haunted his dreams since the beginning. Tribe after tribe has tried to shatter the Dark Alliance and rebuild San Francisco along more constructive lines. Unfortunately, every tribe that has tried has been crushed. No one has ever made it across the bridge into the city itself. While Griffin has a dream of finding Madison and then rebuilding society, the Dark Angels lust to carve out an empire and rid the world of its remaining sinners to create a new utopia comprised of servants of their god. The Dark Angels consider themselves children of God, with permission to reshape the world in his name.
Well, yeah, no, that's not problematic.
Griffin and his army prepare to cross the Crimson Gate Bridge. The famous bridge has been renamed by the Dark Angels because of the torrents of blood spilled on it by defeated invading armies. The bridge is the only way in or out of the city.
Level 11, the Crimson Gate, is what's up next, and is the last bridge-type level we get before the final confrontation. This level is arguably the toughest, with mines, moto tanks, turrets, average tanks, and multiple Goliaths standing in the way of successfully crossing the bridge.
Having done the impossible, Griffin's army now makes its way towards the wharf, stronghold of the Skull Riders and the Aftershocks. Securing the wharf with minimum casualties is paramount if Griffin is to ever rescue Madison from the quarantine zone.
Level 12, the Wharf. Rescue 3 Queen Lords and navigate the wharf. With the boardwalk being a bit of a punishment gauntlet, having to navigate it to get to one of the enemy fortresses. Nothing much can be said about this place other than the game continuing to stack enemy forces against you. Oh, you do get to shoot and sink a boat if you really want to. One last bonus stage that takes place on the wharf, and then, at last, we get to the final level.
The quarantine zone is where the government quarantined females during the plague years. It is Griffin's last hope, forever finding Madison. The Q Zone is an island fortress guarded by the elite forces of the Dark Angels. It is where the final battle of good versus evil will be fought.
Level 13, Q Zone. The sole objective? Rescue Madison. With this being the final showdown, the game basically gives you everything to arm yourself to defend your base. The map is a combination of a long stretch of road, like many other tunnel maps that came before it, and a regular map built with nooks and crannies. I hate nooks and crannies. Off the bat, the enemy sends goddamn Goliaths at you, but so long as you have some well-placed defenses, you should be okay. I personally found that placing a lot of the gun turrets around the perimeter of the area right outside of the fortress tends to work out great. Exploring the side route here can prove both dangerous and useful because it provides a ton of power-ups, but beware because there's a turret behind practically every explodable wall. With any luck, you'll have a pile of lives at this point because it is merciless out there. Arguably the hardest stage, with the amount of firepower you have to contest with and the enemy placement. At this point, it's important to remember that the more bunkers you destroy, the less tanks you have to contest with. Which is normally good, if it wasn't for the fact that the gauntlet is so brutal that the star power-ups could come in a clutch in a pinch. Especially when you're being shot at by turrets in every conceivable direction. In this case, I found that the less tanks could very well be detrimental to your overall success. I mean, there's plenty of power-ups at your fortress and a few more near the entrance of your compound, but the land is barren out there the closer you get to the enemy fortress. Finally, after countless deaths, because I can almost guarantee you're gonna die here, you get Madison and then make it back all the way to your base, which can be relatively easy if you waylaid the enemies on the way up there, which will take a while. Once you rescue Madison, you're treated to the end of the game.
In each tribe, the clansman who has proven himself as the strongest, the most cunning, and the surest in battle is given the tribe's highest honor. Having rescued Madison and defeating the armies of the Dark Alliance, Griffin and Madison are now reunited, and he is proclaimed Battlelord. The birth of a new nation has begun.
The credits roll, and then you're dropped right back to the main menu, and that's it! That was BattleTanx for the N64. Lots of tanks, lots of story, and a whole lot of apocalypse. Overall, the game is exactly what's on the tin. and a little bit more. I mean, I wasn't expecting a goddamn story epic, but here we are. There's a reason easy mode is the default setting, because even normal mode is surprisingly difficult. In easy mode, you get to breathe. The tanks don't pound you mercilessly with attacks from all sides. Man, if that's normal mode, I'd hate to see hard mode, which I ain't gonna do because it took forever just to get through normal mode. Aside from the robust campaign mode, you get an assortment of multiplayer modes as mentioned in the manual. Up to 4 players can play, and they're either eliminating the entire enemy team or doing a whole queen capture thing. You get your choice of gang to use, who all come with their own power-ups and specific tank types, like I mentioned earlier. It always amuses me when you're looking at the multiplayer maps. New York has a clear crater indicating where the bombs were dropped. Ugh, right on Manhattan too. Honestly, I'm just baffled by how much game they were able to stuff in there. Man, it's crazy what innovations game devs were able to do back in the day, huh?
Oh yeah. Especially since games were anywhere between 4 to 64 megabytes.
Anyways, thank you all so much for watching this video. If you like what you see, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell button so you know when the next video comes out. And remember, as always,
Stay safe and keep on gaming.